December 1st meeting of the Big Rapids City Commission. We'll first have the roll call, please. Trina. Here.
James.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Rhodes.
Here.
Simmons. Here.
If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. The agenda's before you. Do we have changes, Mark?
No changes, Mayor.
We'll use it as written. Minutes from the November 17th meeting. Do I hear a motion for approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, additions, corrections, anyone? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. No special orders, no informational updates. We've waited for the study session for a few months, and now it's finished. And I hear the turnout was excellent. Mark, you want to do the intros?
Happy to. Thank you, Mayor. Henry Ho is with us this evening, and he has a lot of friends with him. And we are excited to hear about the results of the Old Jail Survey. So, Henry, please.
All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so my name is Henry, and I'm one of the faculty from the College of Business here at Ferris State University. So, together with my students of marketing research, we are here today to present our research findings about Big Rapids residents' perceptions of the old jail. I'll let my students to introduce themselves while they're doing their presentation here. During their presentation, I would like to ask you, please, if you have any questions, I'd like to ask you to please put it on hold, because let's wait for them to finish their presentations. Then we will have a Q&A session. Okay? Are you guys ready? Student researchers, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Josie, and I'm here today accompanied by my colleagues. Today, we will be going over the community perceptions of the Big Rapids Old Jail. On our agenda, we have why we are doing this research, followed by the research problem and the research objectives. We would also like to share with you our secondary data in which we have retrieved together with our methodology used for our research. After that, we will talk about our survey findings, followed by our hypothesis that we have tested. And towards the end of our presentation, we will talk about the problems and limitations that we have encountered throughout this research, as well as the recommendations that we have created for our client based on our findings. We will then have time for questions at the end.
If y'all could talk in the mic as you speak, because we're recording and we're on live
Oh, yeah.
TV. So they'll hear you much better.
Okay. Can you hear me? A little background for you is our marketing research class was approached by the City of Big Rapids to conduct this research based on the responses of the city residents of Big Rapids. As we all know, the Big Rapids Old Jail is one of the most recognizable historic buildings and a symbol of the town's past. We actually had the opportunity to visit the old jail to better understand the property, background, and history of the building. We then met with the old jail committee to understand their concerns, and we came up with this problem statement. After approval from our client, we were able to come together with 4 research objectives. The first research objective is to gather enough data to understand the awareness and perceptions of the old jail. Our second research objective was to identify the community needs and preferences regarding the redevelopment of the old jail. Our third research objective was to evaluate residents' attitudes towards preserving the old jail and their willingness to support it financially through maintenance and redevelopment. Lastly, we wanted to be able to analyze the community perspectives on ownership options for the old jail. Now, I would like to hand it over to my colleague Becca, who will talk about our secondary data, followed by our primary data collection.
All right, thank you, Josie. Like she said, my name is Becca. So before we began our primary research, we wanted to go ahead and gather some secondary research. And this was accomplished by looking at different literature reviews that was available. So the purpose of this was to look at the available literature on communities' perceptions and awareness of old jail buildings across the United States. So here for you, we have some of those articles and studies that we reviewed, and we're going to go over 4 of those now. So this first article that we went over was provided by Epsplin in 2020, and this article detailed how a old jail in Illinois was preserved as a museum. The local community in Illinois had a strong connection to this site because of its history, and so the local government decided to preserve it as a historical building so that the community members could come and visit at any time. The second article that we went over was provided by Air Guide Business in 2019, and this article went over how an old jail was used for a different purpose. So the former Beacon Hill in Boston was turned into the contemporary Liberty Hotel. The third article that we went over was a study conducted by Tallow in 2018, and this study seeked to gather data on community engagement. So what this study concluded is that community members who feel a strong sense of self and social belongings are more likely to engage with their community and therefore participate in community events. So the last study that we looked over was a study that was done by Cardoso and her associates. There's a lot. And this study was done between 2020 and 2021. And the purpose of this study was to gather data on community engagement and specifically surveys. So what this study found was that if surveyors positively interact with the local community, that local community is then going to positively interact with the surveyors, and they're going to get more enthusiastic results and therefore get data that had previously not been available. So although this literature review is great and it helps us understand the study that we're conducting, there wasn't a lot of available literature on specifically the Big Rapids community and their perceptions and awareness of the old jail, which is why we started our survey to gather primary data on the Big Rapids Old Jail. And with that, I'm going to pass this presentation off to my colleague Sam, and he's going to talk about our research methods.
Hello, everyone. So in my section, I'm going to talk about the research design, the question design, and the research length. So the type of study we conducted was a descriptive research. Descriptive research. It was an in-person and online survey. For the secondary data, we used literature reviews that Becca mentioned. And then for the primary data, it was both the paper and digital survey responses we collected. The sample design was both probability and non-probability sampling, along with convenience and voluntary sampling. This was achieved by both sending the survey out to the water bill, but then also going to external and internal locations in Big Rapids to conduct the survey and ask people if they would like to partake. So for the target population and sample size, according to the census, McCosker County has 40,321. And so our target respondent for this survey was Big Rapids and the surrounding areas. Our goal for this survey was to have a 95% confidence with a 5% margin of error And to achieve that, this survey would need 365 respondents. When it came to the actual survey respondents we collected, we far outperformed this goal. We received 846 completed paper and digital surveys, and that yielded us a 99% confidence with a 5% margin of error. That means that if you redid this same survey, you had a 99% chance of yielding the same results as we did. For the survey questions, all questions were developed in line with the research objectives approved by the city. The measurement scales we used were both a mix of nominal, ordinal, and Likert scales, along with a singular, open-ended question. These scales we thought were the best way to collect the most data based on the survey criteria and length we wanted. So for the duration of the study, it was about 3 weeks from October 20th, and it ended November 15th. So we did external and internal locations, as I mentioned before. For external, it was Bell Coffee House, Panera Bread, the Big Rapids Community Library, and then the city sent it out in the water bill, and it was also put in the Big Rapids Pioneer. For internal, we had the Ferris State Recreational Center, the College of Business Building, the IRC Building, and the David L. Eisler Center. So at both the external, internal locations, we had at least 3 students in the class stand in these locations for at minimum 3 hours, asking people if they would like to partake in this survey. Next, I'm going to hand it off to Katie for the descriptive results.
All right, thank you, Sam. So I'm going to go into the first section, which is the demographic characteristics section that we asked in the survey that we sent out. So the first question that we asked in this survey was, what age range do you fall into? As you can see here, our highest category at 41% is 31 to 54-year-olds. But what's really awesome is we got it from a whole variety of ages 18 and up. The next question we asked was, what is your gender? 68%, being the majority, said that they were female, and 26% said that they were male, with 5% preferring not to answer this question. We also asked how long that they have resided in Big Rapids or its surrounding area. Again, the majority at 71% said that they have lived here for 10 or more years, but we do have ranges across the board. We also asked if they have any children who live at home from 0 to 18 years old. 65% said that they did not, and 34% said that they did. We asked them next what their household income is, with the majority being 26% saying that they make $100,000 or more, but altogether the majority being from $40,000 and above. We also asked what the highest level of education the respondent had was. The majority is falling close to 55%, having a bachelor's degree or above. Next, we asked awareness and perceptions in the section of the survey. The first question in this being, do you think historical buildings such as the old jail are important to the community? We have almost around 90% saying that it is either important or very important to the community, which is awesome. We also asked one open-ended question in the total of this survey. As you can see here, history was a word that was used a lot when answering this question. Two of the most repeating results that we found was one, that they believe it's a very important historical building to the community and that it has ties to the town's origins, which people value, and the next being that it's an underutilized facility for the community. The final question we asked in this section was, how important is preserving the historical character of the building to you? Again, we have around 90% saying that it is either important or very important to them. I'm now going to pass this off to my colleague Tyler, who's going to talk to you guys about the preferences of redevelopment and funding section of our survey.
Thank you, Katie. I will be talking about our descriptive results for the preferences of redevelopment. Our first question asked respondents to rank in order from 1 to 3 which features they thought were most important in redeveloping the old jail. The first feature was facade and exterior appearance, having the highest ranking, followed by interior architectural details, and the landscaping and surroundings. Next, the next question asked, how important do you think it is that the old jail is remain owned by the city of Big Rapids? And about 55% of respondents said that it was important or very important, and about 15% of respondents said that it was of little importance or not important at all. Our next question asked respondents what they believe the most beneficial use of the old jail building would be for the community, and to check all of that apply. The most popular answer was a cultural preservation center, followed by a recreational space. The other response on this question allowed respondents to input their own answer, and these are some of the most popular responses, being building, restaurant, and cell. Now I'm going to talk about our descriptive results for the funding of the old jail. This question asks if respondents are willing to fund the preservation of the old jail building through their current taxes. About 47% of respondents said they agreed or strongly agreed, and about 20% of respondents said that they disagreed or strongly disagreed. This question asked if respondents would support a small property tax increase to maintain or redevelop the old jail. About 59% of respondents said yes, and about 42% of respondents said no. This next question asked if the old jail building should be sold for private use. About 62% of respondents said that they strongly disagreed or disagreed, and only about 10% of respondents said that they agreed. And this last question asks if respondents believe the old jail should be torn down and repurposed. We had about 86% of respondents on this question say that they strongly disagree or disagree, and only about 6% of respondents say that they agreed or strongly agreed. Now I'm going to hand it off to my colleague Addie, and she's going to talk about our hypothesis testing.
Hello, I'm Addison, and I am going to be talking about our hypothesis testing. For our first hypothesis, us researchers wanted to test whether or not there was a significant difference in support for a small property tax increase to help maintain or redevelop the old jail across different lengths of residency in Big Rapids or the surrounding area. To complete this, we did a cross-tabulation test, and as you can see, there are clear differences in support across residency lengths, with long-term residents at 10 or more years at 42.9%, which shows a much higher support for the property tax increase. Because support does vary across residency groups, the null hypothesis is rejected. This indicates that long-term residents are more likely to support a small property tax increase rather than the newer residents. For our second hypothesis, us researchers wanted to test whether or not gender had an effect on respondents' willingness to support a small property tax increase to help maintain or redevelop the old jail. To test this, we used a chi-square test, and as you can see on the table, our p-value is 0.040, which is less than 0.05, which means our null hypothesis is rejected. Our chi-square test also created this cross-tabulation table, which shows a significant relationship between gender and support for a property tax increase. As you can see here, women showed a much higher support for a property tax increase at 42.2%, in comparison to the male counterparts at 14.1%. This does indicate that women are more likely than men to support the property tax increase. Our third hypothesis, us researchers wanted to test whether or not age had an effect on respondents' beliefs about whether historical buildings, such as the old jail, are important to the community. To complete this, we did a one-way ANOVA test, and as you can see on the table, our p-value is 0.001, which is yet again less than 0.05, which means our null hypothesis is rejected. Our one-way ANOVA test also created this graph, which shows a significant difference across age groups. Younger groups rated it as less important, while ratings increased with age, with the highest importance among those 60 plus. This suggests that older residents value preserving the old jail rather than the younger residents. Our fourth hypothesis, us researchers wanted to test whether or not household income had an effect on how important respondents believe for the old jail to remain owned by the city of Big Rapids. To complete this, we did yet again another one-way ANOVA test, and our p-value is 0.001, which is again less than 0.05, which means our null hypothesis is yet again rejected.
Our one-way ANOVA test also created this graph. It shows a significant difference in important ratings across income groups. Lower income residents rated it as city ownership as more important, while higher income residents rated it as less important. This does indicate the support for city ownership decreases as income increases. Now I'm going to pass this off to my colleague Shane. He's going to continue talking about the rest of our hypotheses.
Thank you, Addie. So I will be covering the last 3 hypothesis tests we did. Here are the hypotheses listed for our 5th test. The goal here was to gauge the relationship between the willingness to fund the old jail and these 3 questions here. To do this, we performed a Pearson correlation test on the data. This table shows us the results of that Pearson correlation test. In order to more clearly illustrate this table, we put it into a conceptual model. So this here demonstrates the individual relationship each of these questions has with the willingness to fund the preservation of the old jail. And so we can see here our p-value for each of these is less than 0.001. So we would reject the null hypothesis in all cases, which tells us this is statistically significant. And if we look at our Pearson correlation coefficient for each of these, this 0.488 tells us that these 2 questions have a moderately strong positive relationship, whereas these 2 questions have a moderately strong negative relationship. We were able to perform a little bit more analysis into the relationship specifically of importance of Big Rapids owning the old jail and the willingness to fund the preservation by doing a linear regression test. This allows us to sort of predict what the willingness to fund the preservation will be based on how important the respondent viewed for the old jail to remain owned by Big Rapids. So we can see our p-value here, less than 0.001 for all of these, so we have a statistically significant result here as well. And circled in red, we can find our regression equation, which essentially tells us that for each 1 point increase in the importance for the old jail to remain owned by Big Rapids, we see a 0.473 increase in the predicted value of the willingness to fund the preservation of the old jail. So this indicates a moderately strong positive relationship between these 2. Here are the hypotheses for our 6th hypothesis test that we performed. Our goal here was to gauge the relationship between the importance of preserving the historical character and these 4 questions that were on our survey. Once again, to do this, we performed a Pearson correlation test on this data. And here's our table that shows us the results of that. We can see more clearly how this works by putting it into a conceptual model again. So this shows us again each individual question's relationship with the importance of preserving the historical character. Our p-value for each of these is less than 0.001, so we reject the null hypothesis in all cases for this test as well. And we look at our Pearson correlation coefficients here, we have a strong positive relationship for these 2 and a strong negative relationship for these 2. Once again, we were able to perform a linear regression test to take a closer look at the relationship between the willingness to fund the preservation and the importance of preserving the historical character. That linear regression test resulted in the following table. So this, our circle in green, our p-values less than 0.001. So we would reject the null hypothesis here, and we have a statistically significant result. And our regression equation here tells us, in this case, that for each 1 point increase in the willingness to fund the preservation of the old jail, we see a 0.441 increase in the predicted value of the importance of preserving the historical character. So again, a positive relationship between those 2. And for our final hypothesis, we wanted to gauge the relationship between the importance of historical buildings like the old jail and these 4 questions here. Once again, we thought the best way to do this would be another Pearson correlation test. And so here is our table for those results, which we more clearly illustrate with another conceptual model. Just to highlight the important parts here, we see our p-values once again are all less than 0.001, so we would reject our null hypothesis. And if we look at the Pearson correlation coefficients here, these 2 questions have a strong positive correlation with the importance of historical buildings like the old jail. And then we have a strong negative correlation for these last 2 here. Once again, we performed a linear regression test for further insight into this relationship. We see here, circled in green, our p-values still less than 0.001, so we have a statistically significant result here as well. And then if we look at our regression equation here, this one allowing us to predict the importance of historical buildings based on the willingness to fund the preservation. And we see for each 1 point increase in willingness to fund the preservation, we see a 0.402 increase in the predicted value of the importance of historical buildings like the old jail. I will now pass it off to my colleague Ian to talk about some limitations and recommendations of our research.
Thank you, Shane. My name is Ian, and I'm going to be talking about some of the limitations that we encountered when running the survey, and then some of the recommendations that we have for you guys. So our first limitation that we encountered was our short survey timeline. The survey was only open for about 3 weeks. We feel that had the survey been open for a little bit longer, we could have garnered more responses, which could have possibly changed some of the data. Our second limitation is incomplete responses. Although we had over 1,000 surveys that were started, we can only use 846 because they were fully completed and submitted. Out of those 846, we did notice that there was some confusion on specifically question number 4, which was our rank order question. And in that question, respondents were asked to rank characteristics of the building, as in like 1 being the most important and then 3 being the least important. We had some respondents that completely skipped that question, some that put number 1 in one prompt and then just left it, or they put the same number in all prompts. Our third limitation is student researchers. While we did work hard to conduct a strong survey, it is worth noting that we had to do this within a 15-week window, and that means learning all the information, analyzing it, and then learning how to present it as well. Our fourth limitation is no incentive for participation. Other than the benefit of the community and the goodness out of their heart, there really was no reward for anybody to take the survey, so we view that as somewhat of a limitation. And then our last limitation mainly came up in our in-person administered surveys. We noticed that there were a ton of people that work in the Big Rapids area and pay taxes in Big Rapids, but they live in areas like Rockford, Grand Rapids, or maybe even Reed City, so they were unable to take the survey. While these are called limitations, they don't invalidate the results that we got. They just explain why there's certain trends showing up. Next is our recommendations. So our first recommendation is a small property tax increase to support the redevelopment of the old jail. This, we looked at a hypothesis that Addison had tested earlier, and it was whether people who live here for a long time are able to support a property tax increase. We noticed that there was a strong relation between this. Residents who have lived here for 10 plus years were much more willing to support a property tax increase. So we recommend that the city moves forward with a property tax increase. But it is worth noting that on the original property tax increase question, there was 41% of respondents that said no to a property tax increase. While that is the minority, we do recognize that is a large chunk of people. So we recommend that the city also moves forward with an education program about property taxes. Our second recommendation is use targeted communication to explain the community value of keeping the old jail under city ownership. Again, this looked at a hypothesis that Addison had tested earlier, and it is household income influences how residents feel about the old jail staying under city ownership. We noticed yet again another strong relationship between the two. Lower income residents saw public ownership as very important, while higher income residents placed less emphasis on it. Because of this, we recommend using clear targeted communication strategies that highlight the benefits of keeping the building publicly owned, such as preserving local history, maintaining community access, and then ensuring decisions remain in local hands. Our third recommendation is to emphasize and highlight the old jail's historical character to increase public willingness to fund its preservation. This recommendation looked at a hypothesis that Shane had tested earlier using the Pearson correlation test and the linear regression test. And this examined whether people who see the old jail's historical character as important are also more willing to fund its preservation. Again, we noticed a strong relationship between the two. Those who value the building's historical significance are much more willing to support it financially, Because of this, we recommend that the city really leans into the historical identity of the old jail, using things like restored features, historical signage, and then sharing some of its story as well. Our fourth recommendation is to increase community engagement and visibility of the old jail as a valued city-owned asset, to strengthen public willingness to fund it through taxes. Again, this recommendation looked at a hypothesis that Shane had tested earlier, using both the Pearson correlation test and the linear regression test as well, and it examined whether people who think the old jail should remain city-owned, and if they're also more willing to preserve it through their taxes. Again, we saw a strong connection between the two. Those who support city ownership are the same people who are willing to fund its preservation through their taxes. Because of this, we recommend that the city make the old jail more visible and connected to the community's identity. When residents see it as something, a part of their community, they're going to be more willing to fund it through their taxes. And then lastly, our final recommendation is we ask that the city moves into what we call phase 2 of the research process, which is a qualitative in-depth interview or a face-to-face interview. Unlike surveys, which offer broad but limited responses, interviews allow people to explain their thoughts more fully, provide richer responses, and then more nuanced feedback about the old jail's future as well. Speaking with residents directly can uncover perspectives, concerns, and ideas that may not have surfaced in the original survey as well. Combining quantitative data like our survey, which is more numbers focused, with qualitative data, which is more explaining in words, similar to a face-to-face interview. This more in-depth approach would give the city a clearer understanding of community priorities and help guide redevelopment decisions with stronger and more detailed public input. With that being said, that concludes our presentation about our findings. Now we're going to open the floor to just a few questions. So if you have any, just raise your hand and we'll try to call on you. Thank you. Yes.
I appreciate all of the hard work and everything that you did, especially with all the math and all, but I'm having a hard time understanding the conclusion that you might have come to after collecting all of this information. You have, given the responses that you received from the community, do you have any recommendations moving forward that are perhaps a little bit less specific to the details? How would the city mount a campaign to increase awareness and support for the city, for the old jail? Do you have any ideas about that? I understand it might not have been part of your assignment, but.
Yeah.
So, this is my question. So,
Mike.
all right, so once again, thank you for your questions. So, what we offer here, the presentation about the city residents' perceptions of the old jail, and that is what we are doing. And the suggestions, recommendations are based on the information retrieved from the residents. What you suggest, which is valid, you know, like what the city want to do next, for example, I should see this is more suitable for our other marketing class. For example, we do have a marketing class called Advertising and Promotion, where students can work on a project. The clients, once again, can be the OJ committee, and they can work with them to tailor-make a advertising and promotional campaign which could benefit the city. So they will still need these research results in order to understand what marketing campaign or what advertising and promotion campaigns will be needed.
Is that in your future plans?
That will depend on whether the city would like to hire us or not.
I didn't understand why, as the income went up, the interest in paying taxes to fix the jail went down.
Yep.
It
So
was quite
that
obvious. I mean, it was an easy one to
I
see.
think it was correlated to age too.
And age too.
age
And as
and
age went up, the more you support it, so.
indeed. So the researchers are here to present what we retrieve, and we are not here to comment why those who make more money and they don't want to pay taxes.
Theories.
I like to say, when we make more money, we would like to contribute more, right? That's our logic, right? But in reality, that's not the case in the city of Big Rapids. But I shouldn't comment much about
But
this.
it was obvious.
Yeah, but this is the results that. Question?
I just want, what class is this?
This is a marketing research class for an undergraduate marketing major. And this class is for the undergraduate senior.
Okay, thank you.
Question, was any of the survey conducted with, or looking at, were they likely voters or registered voters in the city of Big Rapids, or is that not something that you guys looked at?
No, we didn't, because while we have an opportunities to meet with the OJER committee as well as the city folks, we pretty much focus on those who are paying taxes. That's one thing we mentioned, and also we look at residents of Big Rapids and its surrounding area. So we didn't touch on, whether you're a voter or not.
How did you get 846 people to answer this survey? To me, that's just tremendously good. I would have never guessed 846. It wasn't an easy survey.
Yep.
You had to
So
read it. I did it.
thank you for asking this question. First of all, we didn't bribe them. We didn't. It's all because of we have a very good team with the city folks. They agreed to invite the participants by sending out the survey via mail survey
How did that
with
go?
paper
How
base.
did that go? Was there a percentage mostly from the water bill, or mostly from them interviewing at Bell's, or how did that go?
It's actually more than that, because we are lucky to have our survey to mention in the City of Big Rapids Facebook page, and then the Pioneer, our local paper as well. So I believe these will then able to drag a lot of attention, and with the link in Facebook, for example, people can just go in and do the survey online. At the same time, in my marketing research class, we have 19 students, and they are putting in different groups. So as Sam mentioned before, each time we have 2 to 3 students stationed in all these locations that we mentioned for at least 3 hours, I remember, which I forced them, you must do this at least twice. And so that is also how we able to attract a lot of respondents with the computers that loaned by the city, so that we can approach whoever that walk into Bell's Cafe, for example. Hey, are you the residents of Big Rapids? Do you want to do this research? So
I think it's an amazing job done by your staff, students and staff. It's amazing. 846 respondents with, unfortunately,
Yep.
we have to keep the old jail and find a way to pay for it based on that.
Yeah,
It pretty much tells us.
As they mentioned before, we only need 346 respondents to take the survey in order to make the survey result credible. However, we were able to retrieve more than 800, which made the confidence level to become 99%.
Bill's the chairman of the old jail. Anything coming up to mind?
Yes, could you scroll back, please, to the section on taxes again? I just want to make sure I'm square with residents' willingness to fund the jail through current taxes versus the recommendation of residents' willingness to pay additional tax money.
Is that your question or your question? Yours? This one. Is that this one, Bill?
So it's about 60% are yes for an increase. And then what
It's hard to believe.
percentage again for current?
This question as well.
That's the only thing I have.
Okay.
Thank
Bill
you
and
so
his
much.
committee have worked hard on it.
Can we get a copy of the presentation?
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Thank you so much hard work. Ugh, it was, I can tell.
Thank you. We have another question.
So, if the city kept ownership of it, could they lease it out? That was never asked.
That wasn't asked, yes.
That was never asked, that's it. Would people be okay leasing it out for like a restaurant or?
That is why the student researchers proposed that perhaps we should run in qualitative research, which is the stage 2 of this research project, in order to learn more about the in-depth of the residents. Like, hey, you say you say yes and no, but now we want the story behind why we should keep this old jail or why we should sell it.
Very good, thank you. I'm gonna invite you to stay for the next presentation because you might be interested in it. Megan's gonna talk about all the grants she's had. And marketers are often into grant writing and all that stuff when you, so if you wanna stay, that, you might find it interesting. She's a great grant writer and she's gonna do her yearly synopsis. Otherwise, go home and enjoy the night. We thank you very much. You don't have to stay for all the business work.
Yes,
might
thank you
like
so
the
much.
next one. Next, Megan Eppley, our grant writer, is going to give us our grant update.
I don't have nearly as much interesting.
It is, it's real money, Megan, and you're doing a fabulous job, please.
Have them in your packet. I just thought it might be worth kind of giving you a snapshot of where we're at right now. It's been kind of an exceptional year, I think, for grants, and not to say that it can't happen every year, but, you know, we keep those things in mind. So I gave you all a spreadsheet, it was in the packet, I don't know if everybody has it, but it's, basically an overview of our current grant activity. It includes applications that are in progress, some that were denied. I do this about once a month, and I send it to Michelle and to, Carla and Brittany and, will be Michelle in the office there, just so they kind of have an idea of what we're looking at or what's on the horizon. Of this list, an unscientific survey. I feel like they use very strong statistics, so they're overwhelming me here. But I'd say about 73% of our applications were funded, so that was pretty good. With that 2.5 million in funding for the water-related infrastructure grant, that kind of makes this an exceptional year. I don't know that we get, multi-million-dollar grants very, very often, but so we had a pretty good year. And sometimes a funder, you can kind of look, there might be a difference between the awarded grants and the original amount requested versus what we actually got. Sometimes a funder might award an amount a little bit less than what we asked for, and that happened a couple times. So, we just got about $65,000 less than what we asked for, so that's not too bad. That's pretty well funded. And then we also have about 1.3 million in pending applications. So, and then if you kind of look at some of I'm looking at my charts here. I think we have an active grant chart here. It kind of looks like this. I just tried to break it down. I thought it might be of interest to look at departments and, matching city funds committed. And it kind of gives you an idea of what we have committed towards different grant projects. I mean, I don't think it's super surprising that we have a lot more in public works and roads and utilities. Those tend to be more expensive than our community development things, but there's that. And then if you look at our pie chart that I have here, I just thought that might be interesting. Very significant portion of our grants come from state funds. I broke it down by federal, state, and foundation. That little sliver is like some from like the Community Foundation or Mecosta County Community Foundation. A lot of the grants we do get from the state, but a lot of the state grants we get are sub-granted from federal funds too. So you keep that in mind, where technically we're getting state funds, they've gotten a lot of that from the federal government. And then that final little chart there at the bottom, the bar chart, breaks down just the grant requests. This is not how many were awarded, and that's just for this fiscal year. We're about halfway through the fiscal year, and grants don't always align really well with the fiscal year. We might apply in one, not learn about it until the other, then actually get the funds. You know, it's kind of it doesn't always align really well. But this last one is just for the current fiscal year. These are the grant requests. So, other than that, like I said, I don't have nearly as much information as they do, but I'm here to also answer any questions you might have, because I don't see everybody as often as I see some other people, so.
Megan, was it important to the federal grant for the fire truck, the $378,000?
Sure.
Did you mention the merger with the township in that grant?
I did, and that, it was, I guess technically not really a grant as much as it's listed here. It's a congressionally directed spending request. But that was part of the application for that, was to say with the, because it's a pumper truck to carry water, and a lot of the narrative of that was we have to take water to a lot of rural places. So, and with the expansion and partnership with the township, that expands that reach. I mean, the fire department already has a fairly good reach and is like a secondary for a lot of the townships anyway, but now with the more, strong partnership.
Jerry, can you relay that part to the township for us? It helped us get that grant to be merged with the township fire department.
Definitely let them know tomorrow night.
Because I think it was helpful.
Right.
They need pumped water out there in the township.
I know.
You're welcome to come to tomorrow night's meeting if you'd like to extend that personally.
I'll send Mark Gifford, city manager.
I would think it was significant. I mean, we don't get things that say here's specifically why we chose you, but I think
They
that.
don't tell you ever that.
No, and even sometimes we just get a thing that I'll get an email that says you weren't selected. We don't really have the resources to tell you why, just try again. So, but with that spending request, I think that, with our area, the rural area, and the service area of the fire department, and that partnership with the township, I'm sure that really had an impact.
And the other huge grant we're going to be getting on the water main.
Mm-hmm.
What's the thought behind that? Why was that so well received by that group?
Well, I know that it was the second time we had applied for this grant. It had come around before. And I think we worked with Todd from Fleece and Vandenbrink to adjust the scope of it a little bit. I think we shortened the length of the main that we were replacing. So I think that maybe impacted it a little bit. So other than that, I'm not. I know.
Mark tells the commission that you rated higher for our handicap walk around the Clay Cliffs.
Yes.
And you're
It's
feeling good about that one now, because we didn't get it last time.
We didn't for the Clay Cliffs phase 1 accessible trail. That is what is the grant? It's the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund, and they meet again I think next week to make their final determinations. And sometimes it's not just the score. They do have different things that they put into it. I feel pretty confident about it because we did significantly raise our final score. So depending on whatever priorities the trust fund board has this year, hopefully we're looking pretty good, and that would be a very, very good asset to the community.
Questions from the public or the commissioners for Megan?
What's on your radar? What's exciting that's coming?
All of the things. Oh gosh, you kind of, I think, put me on the spot with it a little bit, because sometimes grants come around and we have something that's maybe in the hopper, like, oh, how could we have done this? And then but you don't always really know when grants are gonna come up, right? I had subscribed to, I don't know how many e-newsletters, and I just, all morning I'm checking through things to get ideas for grants. So I don't know. I think the next year we could have some opportunities to do some different park things, but I don't know that that's, on our radar, but there are grant opportunities that could help support those things.
Mayor, not a question, but a comment. I know Megan is doing a really awesome job, not only for the city, but she's also reaching out to the community too. She found a grant that came across her desk that she actually posted for the high school seniors for drama. So she's been looking out for the community too. And then last year I reached out to her when I was helping with the robotics team and doing fundraising, and she helped me out on that, trying to help me out find some grants for the robotics team. So she's also very community minded too.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, I get a lot of things that come through my email and different avenues of information, but the city isn't always eligible for things. A lot of things are nonprofits or educational organizations. So if I know enough folks in town that if I see something that might help another organization, I just kind of push it along that way. And so sometimes I don't follow
Does
it.
Ferris have a huge grant writing department, Megan?
I don't know that they have a huge department. I know they have a person, at least one person, and I know her name's Kara Eagle. And I used to work with her. I've talked to her, and I don't know. They have
Does
different
the county
departments
do
go
any-
through there to get
any,
grants.
grant
Say that again?
applications? The county,
Does the county have a grant?
or do they do grant?
If they do, I don't think they have a dedicated person.
They don't have their administrator does a lot of the,
I see.
Right.
is the main grant, and then departments also put in for grants. A lot of times they are in contact with the administrator as well.
Thank you.
I don't know that not every government or city has a dedicated grant department. Most nonprofits don't. They don't have a grant person. It's probably an executive director, but whatever your capacity is, I think it ends up falling to you. So
It's probably one of the things that I learned the best in the first 4 years of my term was how much the grant writers in this town raise money for the city and its projects. We've had, I think you're the third in my 4 years, and every one of them got huge amounts of money and got promoted to bigger cities. I mean, that's a bad part, we don't wanna lose people, but each one of them did better and better and better. So I think, must be Mark, you're leading them in the right direction for grant writing.
Well-
It's been amazing.
Yeah, I think we've benefited by having quality people doing the
Oh,
work,
for
and
sure.
Megan certainly is that, and very much a hard worker and good writer. I know she proofreads for me at different times, and yeah, it's a position that pays for itself for sure. I mean, we are grant reliant, as you point out. We wouldn't be able to do these projects without them, and I think it's money well spent.
Thank you. Thank you, Megan.
yeah,
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you. Any other questions? Great. Thanks for having me.
Public comment, not related to items on the agenda. Hearing none, we're going to move. No public hearing, general business, very quick. We saved a lot of time for our presentation, so it's gonna be quick tonight. The first resolution is authorizing the update of the authorized signature and closure of the city's Fifth Third account.
Get the updated copy.
Yes. We got it. There's
What's
an
the
update.
difference between the updated copy
The
and the
updated
one?
copy because she was actually sworn in today, Michelle.
So she
So we
has to
removed
sign.
my name and put her name on
Okay,
there.
that's
the only
what I thought.
Anything further, Carla or Michelle or Mark on that?
I have nothing else, Mayor.
So we're gonna close the Fifth Third and join the Huntington credit card group. Is
You
that
already
correct?
joined the
We
We already joined it.
You already
Just
approved
have
that.
this, yeah.
Do I hear a motion for that resolution?
So moved.
Second.
And there's a second. Further discussion regarding closing the Fifth Third? Hearing none, roll call please.
James?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Simmons?
Yes.
Gunther?
Yes. Next is the resolution to approve and authorize execution of the economic services contract. Since, oh boy, has it been, took 2 years to get here, Mark?
I'd say so.
Probably 2 years, that the MCDC, Mecosta County Development Corp., did economic development. And subsequently, that group has made the decision to dissolve in January and to give the responsibility for economic development to the new entity formed called the Big Rapids Regional Chamber. They have a new president hired from the, is it public?
Fremont
Is it public?
Foundation.
Fremont
Yeah, I believe so.
Foundation, they hired her from that organization, and she will start to develop the merger of economic growth and chamber function. And it's happening everywhere. I guess Manistee has a really good merger between their economic development and their chamber, one director, that kind of thing. It's happening in many cities throughout Michigan especially. Mark, you got more to say on that one? And this is the agreement that says we will help financially contribute to that group. We always pay dues to the chamber. We always pay dues to the Mecosta County Development Corp. Now this is, we won't pay those anymore, but we have a new agreement to pay the new entity dues. Mark?
No, good summary, Mayor. We have, as long as I have been involved, so almost 25 years, and Commissioner James could comment further, have invested in economic development as a city and done that through the MCDC historically and are looking to do that again through the Big Rapids Regional Chamber. Economic development work can be long and tedious, and Michelle and I work on it daily almost, and sometimes I think it's beneficial when pursuing or maybe even recruiting to have somebody that's outside the organization. I think that's a strength of this particular arrangement. We cannot contribute to directly to a nonprofit, and Brad crafted this agreement for those services of economic development. So it's, you know, I think sometimes people think of chambers as social networking groups. That is not the reason for the city's contribution to the organization. It's for economic development work, to fill downtown vacant businesses, to work in our industrial park, to grow the business community of the Big Rapids area. So I think we have a good plan. This first year would be a smaller contribution because of the city's funding of their nonprofit creation through Micah Myers. They didn't have the resources to do it. Brad's team took it on and got them going down that road, but the city has paid the bill. So now that would be deducted off the $20,000 contribution for 2026, and then $20,000 for 27 and $20,000 for 28 for those 3 years. And that's the amount of money we have historically contributed for that work.
Is this the first time that there's been a document to say what they're going to do for economic development? I've never seen one. Is this the?
I believe this is the first one that I know of, yes.
Which document?
It's the last page.
Well, I mean, that, you bring up documentation, like, there is no website yet for the Big Rapids Regional Chamber. The Mecosta County Development website is non-existent. Like, there's nothing that recognizes and documents, like, what this is supposed to do and what its goals are. All I could find was articles in the Pioneer.
The creation of their website is underway. They've hired a company out of Midland to do that creation. It would include new branding that's ongoing. That was selected at their last meeting. We have a board in place that's, I think, well known to the community who that is. Tyler Schuberg is the chair. Executive board, Shelley Keene, Chad Nastoff, Tyler Hunty, I think. There's some, I may have missed one or two. It's underway. The agreement for the new staff person is solidified. She'd be starting in mid-January. She's going to spend a day with city staff, at which I would like to get her in connection with each of you. That's something I'll be working on scheduling. So we can work on, our communication back and forth. Their office is gonna be at the Michigan Works, is hosting the office space.
It was difficult, I was involved, because I was on the Development Corp as we were recommending dissolving, et cetera. It was very difficult to do because they have absolutely zero funding. So it was hard to hire a website company until we had a director. It was hard to, and the Mecosta County Development Corp has agreed to have its assets, once established, transferred to the entity. So then they'll have the ability to do more work.
Because really, there's, I mean,
Just
their
getting off the ground.
website's gone.
You got
There's-
it.
Yep.
There's nothing.
You are completely right on that one.
And Commissioner, some of the duties that the new chamber would have towards the city are spelled out in the very beginning of that agreement in your packet there. And those, among those would be, they have to provide economic development services, but also establish a budget and report on their metrics, and their successes and outcomes, every year to the city commission.
Yeah, silly, I know, I read that part.
It's there.
Saw it.
Questions? Yeah, please, Jerry. Excuse me.
I'm trying to be very optimistic about this new organization moving forward. There's a couple of things that would put my mind at rest. First of all, are the people that are participating in this going to be required to sign non-disclosure agreements?
No.
Good. So the information
Transparent.
they can share with the public, I mean, marketing sensitivity is taken into account, of course. That's a big one. I'm really glad to hear that. The other part of, what's the name of that, of the CEO again? That's Mitch Heller hiring?
Yeah, the mayor,
Dixon is the last name.
Sarah Dixon is her name, and the only reason there's any, hesitation in saying it is it's a little unclear on where it rests with her current employer. I'm certain it's okay, but I didn't vet that process before tonight, but Sarah Dixon.
What was it again?
Sarah Dixon,
Sarah Dixon?
yes.
Thank you.
An employee of the Fremont Area Community Foundation.
Is that part of the Gerber Foundation too?
It is.
Nice.
So they pirated her, from what I hear.
Mark, are you aware of any, of the other entities that would have normally supported this and funded it? Is there anyone that for some reason is not doing it?
The historic funding of economic development was a three-tiered system of the city, the university, and the county. And the
Okay.
county has not chosen to pursue those arrangements any longer. Doesn't mean that will be the way it is forever, but currently they have not contributed, and I don't think have any idea of contributing right in the next, near future. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, they could
Ferris
change.
did, Ferris
That's
came forward.
disappointing because they're a major supporter.
They were the largest supporter historically, yeah.
Ferris has, through its administration, opted to continue their support.
That's excellent.
And they're represented by Dan Eichinger on that group.
One final comment. Are we sure we're not putting the cart ahead of the horse on this? Because there's things to be developed yet, I guess, that you haven't reviewed? Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't think so. It's time sensitive in that, they're trying to fund a position and a person and create a budget and do the work that's, I think, been charged of them. So, they're going to all of their funding agencies with letters of intent for the 3-year contribution. We can't sign one of those. That's why we
Hope
have
this
this
works this
agreement.
time.
We do too.
I know Mark has spent a lot of time, you've spent a lot of time trying to come up with something that would work.
And I know the process has been months and months and months in the making. It's not something that's coming upon us suddenly, I think, as a community.
Very good. Other comments? We have a resolution before us.
Mayor. We have a comment.
Oh, sorry.
Usually you're asking me. Wendy Nystrom. I hope this is very successful because we need growth in this area. And we need higher paying jobs. And I support this because I was just up at the Claire MEDC Michigan. Holy Toledo, they got all kinds of things going on up there. And they had to sign a non-disclosure to let Amazon's distribute. They're getting an Amazon distribution center up there. They were just allowed to announce it now that it's officially happening.
In Claire.
In Claire, they have got all kinds of growth, and their regional one is with Isabella County.
Yeah, mid-Michigan.
It was incredible. And our state representative was there. He seems to support that MEDC. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great news for them. Anything else? We have a motion to approve and authorize execution of the economic service contracts.
So moved.
Second.
Further questions?
Before we vote on this, Mayor, I will disclose that Sarah Dixon is my second cousin.
You can vote, right?
You can still vote on this, yes.
Others? Hearing none, please.
Johnson,
Yes.
Rhodes,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gunther.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. We agree with Wendy and Jerry. We sure hope it goes well for them and they work hard. I think the key to the whole thing was finding the new executive director president. Because we haven't had a paid professional running for how long, Mark?
Oh, since we've had a full-time person, years, yeah, a few years.
Many years, and
Yeah.
it doesn't work very well with all volunteers. Unscheduled business, commissioners, anything, public, anything?
Thoughts on the next phase of the old jail?
We have old jail committee members.
They're both back there.
I mean, I think you guys were just hearing this information for the first time too, so.
Bill Chain Line, yes, this is our first exposure to the information as well, so we'll schedule and follow up on.
Henry will have a full report that
Got it.
has everything in it that he'll give to us, he said, in January. So we'll probably schedule a old jail committee once we have that full report and everyone has time to digest it, and then I can send that to you guys as well when we get it.
To me, the hard part is if the community wants us to keep it and they want us to pay for it with tax dollars, what do they want to do with it? That question was apparently addressed in the survey.
No, and I don't know that the survey had the capacity to do that as well.
That's the key.
Like, there's only so much you can do.
That would be phase 2.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's one question in the categories were very general, like cultural use or
Yeah.
something, museums or something, and hard to,
Nail it.
yeah.
If it were free to fix it up and repair it into pristine condition, this wouldn't probably have come up. But it's not free, and there's gonna be a lot of
No,
money.
and there's maintenance on it. That's
You
the
got it,
challenge,
that
is that
too.
there's,
Fix it and then maintain
there's
it.
maintenance, so.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. We're adjourned.
Thank you.